Zootopia 2 is such a fun movie that we almost forget the mistakes hidden in it, but trust me, they're definitely there. Are you ready to uncover all the things that went wrong in Judy and Nick's brand new movie? Leg. There's a mistake right at the beginning that has nothing to do with what happened in the first movie. Judy's leg should actually be injured. At the start of Zootopia 2, we see the scene where former Mayor Bellwether is being arrested. Judy even walks out of the crime scene kicking the door with the villain after she's defeated, and all the reporters are there waiting to find out who was behind the mystery. But here's the problem. At the end of the first movie, Judy injures her leg on a statue's horn, and the wound is so bad that she can't even walk. That's the very reason Bellwether thought she had beaten Judy and ended up confessing. So if the second movie begins with the exact same scene from the end of Zootopia 1, then Judy's leg should still be hurt. But that's not what happens. This is a detail Disney should have paid attention to, but since they didn't notice it, we added it to our list. You're about to see mistakes like this and many more. Get comfy and come with us, because another Cinewave is about to start. Time. Another mistake that starts in the first movie and continues in Zootopia 2 is the timing. According to the second film, Judy and Nick have only been police partners for 1 week. As we've already explained, this adventure begins with Bellwether being arrested, but there's a serious issue here. How long does it take someone to go through training and actually become a police officer? A lot longer than 1 week, that's for sure. And yes, we know there was probably a lot of time between Nick's first day at the police academy and the moment he graduates as an officer, but the movie doesn't explain any of that, and that's why it's a mistake. The impression we get is that only 7 days passed between the end of the last movie and the beginning of the second one. Disney should have explained more clearly when this story is actually taking place, and that's why this detail becomes one of the biggest mistakes in the movie. But what do you think about it? Heat. If you watch the movie, you know that Gary and our heroes need to enter the snow district to find a house. The problem is that when they get there, Nick ends up stealing a scarf to keep Gary warm, since snakes don't do very well in the cold. But here's the issue. Clothes don't actually make you warm. Yes, this might sound shocking. We know you love staying cozy under your blanket in winter, but in the real world, scarves, jackets, or blankets don't produce heat. They only keep your body heat close to you because mammals are warm-blooded, but snakes are cold-blooded. So giving Gary a scarf was a huge mistake. It wouldn't help him at all. Did you notice that? The rodents. A mistake that happens in front of the precinct shows that even a Disney animation can overlook things. If you pay close attention to the scene where Judy and Nick are leaving their therapy session with Dr. Fuzzby, you'll see 3 rodents walking up a ramp while the 2 come down some stairs. At that moment, the 3 hamsters are ahead of the protagonists. But as soon as the scene cuts, the rodents appear much farther behind, as if they had suddenly walked a long distance. This is an animation mistake because the conversation between Judy and Nick doesn't change at all, meaning no time has passed from one shot to the next. Did Disney forget that hamsters have tiny legs? And would you like to live in Zootopia? Comment number Zoo so we can get to know you. The pan. In the ballroom scene, when Gary steals his grandmother's book and kidnaps the father of the Lynx family, an intense chase begins. But there's a big mistake happening right there. When Judy and Gary enter the fire pit room, where we discover the snake isn't actually the villain, Nick manages to get inside and uses a pan to hit Gary on the head. But this is a mistake because the door had fully closed before, and he still entered the room without Judy or Gary noticing. How did that happen? Nobody knows, and that's why it's a mistake Disney didn't pay attention to. Coconut water. Another mistake happens in the police station hallway when Judy and Nick are near the soda machines. The scene starts by showing a can of coconut water being purchased. A small mouse buys the drink, and when the scene cuts, we see him walking past our heroic duo. But if you look closely, you'll see the can is already open, as if the mouse had been drinking it. But there's no liquid coming out of the can he just bought. And that's very strange because it's an extremely easy animation mistake to spot. Disney is a massive company, and even though this is a small detail, it's something the Mickey Studios should have fixed before releasing the movie. Don't you agree? Television. Now, here's a mistake that is also kind of a joke. In the scene inside Judy's apartment, our heroine is watching TV. She changes the channel and a news report appears where a tiger starts talking about the weather. He says, "Tomorrow we'll have all kinds of weather." It's meant to be funny because in Zootopia, different districts are built to house animals who need different climates. In fact, that's the main plot point of the movie, since it was Gary's grandmother who invented the walls separating each biome. But it's still a mistake because the scene shows a weather broadcast. In the real world, we have this kind of newscast, but in Zootopia, it doesn't make any sense because they already know exactly what the weather will be. In the winter district, it's always cold. In the rainforest, it rains every day. And in the beach district, it's permanently hot. Footage. Speaking of news reports that don't make any sense, a major mistake happens in the scene where the TV shows Judy holding the tooth that fell out of Gary's mouth after the snake accidentally bit Chief Bogo. This scene makes it look like Judy attacked the city sheriff and that we all saw it happen. But there's a problem. How does Zootopia's news station even have that footage if there wasn't a single camera in that place? From the way it's filmed, it seems like the camera was with someone walking down the hallway. But the only ones there at that moment were the BOR officers, and none of them had a camcorder. It makes absolutely no sense for the city's news to have that recording because it shouldn't exist at all. Did you see any camera in that scene? This was a huge mistake that Disney completely forgot to fix. Don't forget, subscribing is the easiest way to make sure you never miss any of our videos. Fish. Another mistake happens in the swamp when Nick and Judy are listening to Nibbles talk about the swamp district and the secret reptile population living in Zootopia. Since the lizard bar is inside a ship, our heroes need to hitch a ride with a walrus that swims around the area, and the walrus's payment is a fish. The one who delivers the fish is Nibbles the beaver. But where exactly did she get that fish from? In the shot, it looks like she pulled it from the bottom of the river, but that doesn't make any sense because the walrus is literally in the water and could get his own food. Besides that, a few seconds earlier, we can see a bucket near the characters. That must have been where Nibbles got the fish from. But if that's true, then it's an even bigger animation mistake because in the previous shot, we clearly see that they had already passed the bucket and left it behind. Meaning, Nibbles pulled that fish out of nowhere, and that's why this is a pretty big animation error in the movie. Door. Another completely nonsensical mistake happens in the scene where our heroes are entering the reptile bar. If you pay close attention, you'll notice that the bar's door is actually the shell of a turtle, and that's a mistake because it makes no sense for the turtle to stay there holding the door forever. Doesn't she ever go to the bathroom, eat, or sleep? Sure, it's a cute little detail, and it's funny to think a turtle closes the bar door, but still, it's a mistake because it's just not logical. Did you notice that detail? Clothing. A very strange mistake happens right after Judy and Nick exit the water tunnel. Judy Hopps climbs into that pipe without realizing she can't breathe underwater, and that's when the mistake happens. Nick Wilde saves his partner, and when they emerge from the tunnel, they're both completely soaked. But just 1 second later, both their fur and their clothes are totally dry. This is a continuity mistake because they were supposed to stay wet. And sure, you might think the sun dried them quickly, but that's not how it works in the real world. Nick is a fox and Judy is a rabbit, meaning they have a lot of fur. Animals that furry do not dry that fast. So this scene makes no sense at all and definitely belongs on our list of mistakes. Frame. In the scene where Judy is inside the cabin at the top of the mountain, there's a mistake that very few fans noticed. The scene is quite dark because they're inside a snake hideout. If you pay attention, you'll see that Judy finds a room where there are newspaper clippings on top of a table. In front of her, there's also a framed board with the same idea, and you can clearly see the frame right in front of Judy. But when the scene cuts and the officers burst in shooting tranquilizer darts, both Judy and Nick dodge, yet the darts don't hit the frame because it's no longer there. At the beginning of the scene, the frame was in front of Judy, but when the officers entered, it was moved to the side. This is a pretty big animation mistake that almost nobody noticed because everything in the hideout is so dark. Poison. You probably already know that Paubert the Lynx is the main villain of this story. We learned that when he uses snake venom to attack Judy, but when exactly did he get that venom? This isn't just a mistake, it's also a huge mystery. It makes absolutely no sense. Yes, the villain is only revealed at the end, but at no point do we see Paubert collecting venom from a snake. So it's as if he just magically pulled that weapon out of thin air. Did you notice this mistake in the movie? It's a pretty nonsensical detail, isn't it? Enjoying it? Then click one of the 2 videos we left on the screen and keep going with us. See you next time.